On behalf of NSHM Knowledge Campus group of institutions, we would like to welcome all the panelists, esteemed panelists, and the participants who have joined in till now to our virtual corporate meet that we are hosting for the last few weeks with respect to different portals, with respect to different domain is concerned. So for this week, we have chosen the domain of computing and analytics, wherein we would be discussing the um, uh, how to align the career aspirations of the um, uh, computing and analytic aspirants during this era of new normal. So we all are witnessing a new normal, courtesy are this COVID-19. So COVID-19 has created a massive change in the domain and the working domain across all the sectors, creating a new normal wherein everyone is working from home. Everyone is witnessing a different pattern of working across the sectors, and there has been a paradigm shift across all the domains and sectors. Similarly, that impact has been there in the computing and analytics vertical as well. So today we would be discussing how the transition has happened with respect to the computing and analytics portal for this COVID-19 crisis, and how the aspirations of the computing and analytic aspirants should be aligned with respect to this new normal. So we have our portal in charge who takes care of the School of Computing and Analytics for NSHM Knowledge Campus group of institutions to moderate the entire session and take you through the entire session with respect to different aspects to be discussed, different points to be discussed. So before I pass on the session to her, I would introduce Dr. Suparna Thar, who is in charge of the School of Computing and Analytics for NSHM Knowledge Campus group of institution. Dr. Dhar is a PhD in Business Administration on Information Systems. She is also an MStat from ISI and BSc Mathematics Honors from Presidency College, Kolkata. She has gathered over 24 years of experience in the IT industry, managing development of state-of-the-art IT solutions for a global clientele, contributing to business growth and organizational competency development before moving over to academics full-time. She has architected IT solutions for fintech and served as the chief data scientist for the integrated fraud management system development project for India. She has been a guest faculty for IIM Calcutta and developed a number of case studies for the Case Research Center at IIM Calcutta. She is deeply involved in information systems research. Her work has been published in internationally reputed journals. She has presented her work at prestigious international conferences, and presently she is one of the pillars of NSHM Knowledge Campus, who is responsible to drive the entire School of Computing and Analytics for both Kolkata campus for NSHM group of institutions, NSHM Knowledge Campus group of institutions. So we welcome Dr. Subarna Dhar. Dr. Dhar, over to you. I would not take much time and waste it much more. So over to you, and please guide us to the entire session and help us to explore the different aspects of computing and analytics. Dr. Subarna Dhar, over to you.
Thank you, Prajna. Thanks for the introduction and welcome everyone. Good afternoon, all the panelists, and a warm welcome to everyone. So today's corporate summit, as Prajna introduced, is the computing and analytics domain. Today we have panelists, three distinguished panelists. First, I'll introduce Mr. Jacob Azakattu. He's an Associate Vice President at Parametrics Technologies Private Limited. He has more than 20 years of experience in the field of information technology. He has been associated with IT majors like Wipro, Parametrics Technologies, and many others. Presently, he holds the profile of Associate Vice President with Parametrics Technologies. Welcome, Mr. Jacob Azakotu. The second panelist is Mr. Shamuresh Mahapatra. He is a Senior Vice President of HR with a major IT giant. Mr. Shamaresh Mahapatra brings over 20 years of experience in HR and talent acquisition space. He has been instrumental in designing scalable structures for multinationals and enabled growth by management objectives over the past years. He has also managed a global portfolio in OD, talent management, and conceptualized global policies that supported business growth over the years successfully. He has worked with companies like IBM, Visa, Quick Heal, TGC, and is currently working as VP Human Resources with a IT major. It's a PCMMI 5 organization. Welcome, Mr. Sambaresh Mahapatra.
Thank you, Dr. Suparna. Thank you so much.
Our third panelist is Mr. Shubhendu Bhattacharya, Senior Cloud Architect, US Department of Defense. Mr. Bhattacharya has got over a decade of experience in the domain of technology. He has been associated with organizations like Phoenix Solutions, Capgemini, to name a few. Presently, he is working as Senior Cloud Architect with the US Department of Defense. He's also a certified Microsoft trainer and Google authorized cloud instructor. Welcome, Mr. Shubhendu Bhattacharya.
Thank you. I'm glad to join this platform.
Thank you. Welcome.
Ma'am, just to interrupt, I would request to like switch on the video mode for the speakers so that the audience, the participants who are attending today's session can have a visibility. So if the moderator and the speakers can like switch on the video. Yeah, please, ma'am. Thank you. Take it over.
Okay. So first, I'll start with Mr. Azakadu. Mr. Azakadu, a lot has been happening in the world of computing in the past few years, right? And you name it, like the artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, IoT, and so many names floating around. And again, with the COVID situation, it has given a new turn. So can we just start with your views on this? So where is the IT industry heading? From the past, present, and future perspective, if you can share your views.
Okay, thank you first of all, Dr. Suparnadhar, for this opportunity. I'm glad that I could join some of the others, and I'm sure they also would be valuable inputs to the session. I primarily am more of involved with the quality area in my company. And yes, in this particular section, as you have asked about this particular situation that we all are facing through because of the COVID-19. I think for the IT sector primarily, though this is a challenging time, but because of the digital infrastructure that we already have, I don't think it has put in a huge impact, though there are some limitations in the way we do business and all. But apart from that, I think as far as the day-to-day work is involved with respect to projects and all, what we have noticed over the last 3.5 to 4 months is almost, I should say, more than 95% of the work has been going on pretty smoothly. As far as I would say the production aspect, we can say almost everyone is working from home, so there has been hardly any impact. We have a organizational performance indicators also, and we recently had a meeting where we saw for the last year we had achieved more than 80% of the whatever performance targets we had placed. So though it had some impact, but I believe the IT sector has been able to do pretty well in this particular season also.
Great, thank you. So yes, from the operational perspective, the IT industry did have an advantage of already being digitalized, and the operations have been going on very smoothly. That's from the project's perspective. Can you just share with us anything like if your company or anyone in your knowledge and companies who are focusing on new technologies because of this new normal?
Sorry. Yeah, we have already been moving into some of the upcoming technologies. Like one of the areas that we are discussing today is, of course, analytics. So even in this sphere, we have had work going on. We have data analytics working on, analysts working on a few projects in our company. And apart from that, to a smaller extent, we have machine learning and AI also being coming up, being used more of in the projects. So it's still a growing field, and I think in the coming days, this will only increase due to this COVID-19 situation and all, where people would try to develop more of applications wherein you have more secure kind of environments created for work and all. We can see the impact that COVID had on so many of the activities that we see all around. So I believe people will surely be innovative enough to come in with more and more applications which are more helpful to deal with such situations. We cannot say that we won't see anything like this in future. Probably we may see more of this in diverse ways with this increased use of technology and the way the world is going ahead. So I think we may see more and more applications being developed and technologies coming up which will cater to all these needs. So yes, at parametrics also we see that shift happening, some new technologies being implemented. We have a lot of use with Python also. We have a few Python developers who are working, and I think that is one of the major programming languages used with the in data science and all too.
Yeah, thank you. That was a great insight. I'll come to Mr. Bhattacharya. Mr. Bhattacharya, what are your views? You are more technology oriented in your profession. So, what are your views on this? Mr. Bhattacharya, I think you are on mute.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That should be much better. Okay, cool. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and greetings to all the students. First of all, I'm glad to be here and to talk with these expertise people. So in my point of view, global pandemic, this COVID-19 situation changed how we live to how we breathe. So it changed everything from the job category to the how we work in our environment. So I believe that it will bring a huge change in the work culture in terms of the artificial intelligence or the machine learning or how we roll out any plan, to be very honest. If I talk about the work from home culture, it's not new. We have been working from home from a long time, but in last couple of months, most of the people from each and every sector, they are working from home, and this work from home culture become a very new. This is become a very normal stuff. But as a effect, we have a lot of security threat. The data is in risk, the people communication, the computers, the data center, everything is in risk because anybody can reach to us without any disturbance. So now I think we should think forward to that, how to open up data digital security to everyone, specifically to the companies. And I think this is a great area for the student to learn the digital security and how they can provide a better security to industry, or how they can provide a better security to an individual. So I think that's a nice opportunity for us to learn and to deploy.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. You talked about data security, and Mr. Asakar also alluded to the security aspect that's becoming very important. So we'll come to that. Just before that, I have another question, and Mr. Bhattacharya, you can start on this. So in this new normal, how important is innovation?
Before the innovation, I think we should focus on a question why. That why we should think about the innovation. Unless until we have that why, we can move forward in our personal life as well as in our career, right? So let's say I'm a college student. I'm planning for a job. So my first question will be why I want to get a job, where I want to get a job, what I will do in that company, right? Am I a simple employee or am I an asset of that company? So at the moment we have all the answer, I think we can think behalf of the company. I think that is the most important thing. And at the moment we will think about our company instead of only ourselves, then the innovation come in the picture. Second, innovation means a lot of things. We can innovate in each and every segment. If I talk about this new world, I think innovation means something in the machine learning segment, something in the artificial intelligence segment, or something in the robotics. So if someone is planning to innovate something, I believe the first question will be why. Why you want to innovate something, and what exactly that innovation will do, or how that will impact us from an individual perspective or from a company perspective.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I think the message you're giving is loud and clear that innovation has to be with a purpose. People have to have that clarity, like what are they trying to achieve with that innovation?
Ma'am, so people talk about the success. So what is a success? We haven't thought about that. So in my term, success is, combination of three pillars. First, your deep work capabilities. Second, your financial stability. And third one is your impact in the society. Unless until we give something to our society from where we have received so many things, we are rich, in culture, we rich in knowledge. I think we should think about that option. That if I'm learning enough, I should give something to my society. I should have a good impact in my society. So I think that's a point to note when we talk about the success.
Thank you. So, Mr. Mahapatra, will come to you. You are in the HR and as a recruiter. So, what human faculties do you think are important in an IT professional? And particularly if that IT professional is focusing on the newest things that we're talking about, artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and in the new normal, we are also working from home, all the digital media, working on a digital media from a remote location. So from these aspects, what do you think are the important human aspects you're looking for in your employees?
Mr. Patra, the question is to you. Can you please unmute yourself and also please switch on the video mode? Mr. Shamorish Mahapatra, can you hear us out?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm here.
Yeah, so the question was to you.
I'm sorry, Dr. Suparna, but probably I'll have to repeat the question. And my apologies, there is some syntax with my camera hardware, so I'll have to let that go, but I'll be speaking. Is that okay?
Ma'am, can you please like repeat the question? Maybe due to some technical glitches, he must have like missed out the question. If you
Okay.
can kindly repeat
Sure,
it.
sure. So basically, Mr. Mahabatra, my question was, since you are in HR and you are into recruitment, so when recruiting employees, what
Mhm.
human faculties do you look for? Particularly with this, the new kind of technologies that are coming in, the artificial intelligence, the machine learning, and so on. And also in this new normal, we are working from home, working from remote locations over digital media. So keeping all this in mind, what are human traits do you think are important uh, in your employees?
See, I think to address this question particularly, I think the yardsticks have not really changed because I think if you look at the past decade in the IT industry, I think the change wave has been very frequent. I mean, especially for the past 5 to 6 years. So I think if you look back 15 years, I think the change wave were not that frequent as it is today, right? So I think we are all coping up, and I'm sure the dynamics of recruiting are also changing in terms of who you want to bring into the organization. So there are a couple of things. One, the skill pack, what we say, right? So at a technical level, there is a skill pack. So you would look at a programmer or a guy who's excellent coder, right? So I think that remains. So there is a particular job skill and competency which still remains. But I think we strongly believe that for anybody coming into the organization, might as well be, let's say, a beginner or somebody who is into the lateral positions or senior roles. So I think we focus a lot on the will, which is very important because I think that is more inclined towards your behavior and your attributes. Because I think, while skill is very important, your set of technical competencies are imperative to have. But at the same time, if you don't have the will, to imply your skill at the workspace, I think, the redundancies go up. So I think to manage that, and of course, with the COVID now, we are putting and seeing everything through the new pair of lenses, new pair of eyes. But at the same time, I think I second both the speakers that so I look at this from the delivery perspective. So one is the delivery perspective, the other is the HR perspective. Now the delivery perspective, I don't think much has changed there because we have been so if you look at the job roles within IT, most of the job roles have always been WFH compatible. They work from home compatible. So you have your IT infrastructure. Everybody has laptops today, and then they can connect from home, the VPNs, etc. So I think from that perspective, it was always there. It's just that with this pandemic, I think you have your business continuity plan in place much more focused, where I think you're scaling up your IT infrastructure to make sure that, the security bit is also taken care of, and then people have access to their work, their shared folders. And the other thing that I would like to talk about here is that that's where the challenge is because and also coming back to the question. So the kind of people that we are now looking at is, IQ has always been in focus. We always talk about IQ and your academic excellence, etc. But I think very recently we've started talking about your EQ, right? So emotional intelligence. I think that's very important because when you engage with your teams, and I'm sure we all know that there is a technology shift in terms of how we've been managing projects. So we started with waterfall technology, and then we came to Scrum, and then now we are in Agile, right? So Agile works very differently, but when you talk about remote engagement vis-a-vis the Agile, I think somewhere we are trying to understand if we could really assimilate that process well, because you're remotely engaged at the same time you're agile on the agile technology, methodology you're working, in terms of your project management. So I think what we are trying to look at is the emotional intelligence, in people in terms of their maturity, the integrity, and of course the loyalty question, resulting to the loyalty question towards the organization. So, so that's something that we are really looking at now while recruiting.
Thank you, Mr. Mahapatro. You brought in some very pertinent points, the EQ. and also the IQ part. IQ part we all know and appreciate, but EQ is something we sometimes fail to notice, but that's also very important in a professional. Uh, and just to carry on this, get a little deeper into this question. So suppose a student wants to take up a career in data science. So would they need any special kind of skill? I'm not talking, apart from the technological skills, any soft skill or any personal, human trait uh, that will help them in their career as a data scientist.
So I think that's a very pertinent question. And I can give you very ground level, I mean, absolute ground level understanding of how a corporate setup and the ecosystem works really, So when we come to this, I think apart from the technical capabilities or the competencies, we would essentially look at a few things, right? To begin, positive attitude. Now, I would actually like to translate what do we mean by positive attitude here. Now, we always believe that a great programmer should ideally care about success of a product. They should be positive, and willing to go to the distance to get the job done. So the flexibility question, the attitude really is something that matters. Now the second is communication skill. I think this is imperative to have today because good communication skill can directly correlate with your development skills. So a programmer should be able to understand because and in terms of somebody front ending projects or can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And everybody else here,
Yeah, we can hear Mr.
Okay,
Mahapatra.
great.
Mr. Mahapatra, you can.
Yeah. So I was talking. So I think communication skill is very important. I mean, irrespective of the job roles today, I think we are in the era of communication. So you have global stakeholders to manage. You have global projects which you're a part of. Either directly front ending or managing the delivery part of it. So I think it's important to also focus on the communication skill, not just the technical capability. Then I would also focus on good sense of time and task management. I think because I think the here we call it as reliability or dependability, right? So if you have some service level agreement with the clients and we are talking about a deadline to deliver the project, and then we would roll on from there. So I think it's important, because we rely a lot on the programmers, the great programmers. So they have to have a strong work ethic, and show up on the meetings on time. And it's very important, to have that skill in terms of communicating with your internal stakeholders and your external stakeholders. So the sense of time management, a good time management and task management. When I say task manager, somebody who's not really a procrastinator, so generally people have the tendency to really procrastinate work, so something which you have to do today, and by the end of the day, we often feel that this can be parked, some portion of that can be parked for tomorrow, and 70% of the work can be done today. So when you keep procrastinating, of course your deadlines are extended. So I think this is called lack of then to a large extent, people would look at with a different pair of lenses. One might feel that you're not reliable or dependable. So for a technical guy or a good programmer, these are also very important skills to really kind of mention here. And of course, the learning curve. That's one thing.
Ma'am,
great
unmute yourself.
point. Yeah, I think. So absolutely great point. The time management, the discipline, being punctual, that's very important in every industry, and specifically in the IT industry, just because we deal with a global clientele and different cultures and so on. Uh, and I think the message to our students is loud and clear to all the participants is loud and clear. It's not just the technical skills or the programming skills that will bring in success. That's what Acharya was alluding to. But it's also important to be disciplined.
I think I would also like to, kind of a little bit add to this message to all the students if they're around here on the call. So I think we strongly believe that. So what do we mean by integrity, right? When we talk about in the HR space, we often talk about integrity. It's very difficult to define, especially because most of us we talk the right things when our bosses are, our bosses are around, and we try to really impress them, and or maybe we mostly, most often are not very loyal to the absent, So when somebody is not in the room, when we still talking good things about that person is called integrity. When your boss is not around, nobody's in the room, you're not picking something that you're not supposed to pick as integrity. So I think that comes as a part of your basic skin, character, and discipline. And I think if you look at the organizational pyramid, out of 10,000 people, might be the top layer would be about 250. So certainly it is competitive, and one has to understand how do you really make that journey from 10,000 to 250 in that layer of VPs and these, the top level, the strategic level, right? So I think there is no shortcut to success is one message that I would like to really call out here. So I think there can never be any shortcut to success. So if one has taken that path, I think you really have to come back to where you started and then start from there again. So that's how it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just a little while back, we were talking about security. And Mr. Bhattacharya, you talked about security, and Mr. Azakat, you also talked about security. So, Mr. Bhattacharya, can you start with your views on cybersecurity? Cybersecurity as a profession, how how prospective is it today? Cybersecurity as a profession.
First of all, I love this topic. When I start talking about the cybersecurity or the digital security specifically, I'm very happy because there are so many points to talk and there's so many points to cover. So I got a question from one of the student that, what is the life and how will be the career in the cybersecurity. First of all, this is a $1 billion industry. Okay. So if you are planning to come in this industry, I know I'll be sure that you will be a millionaire very soon. So the question is why? Because we don't know that how to protect us. Okay. So if I want to give an example, in our computer, one of the most vulnerable thing is the browser. Okay. We use the browser, single browser for the net banking as well as for our personal banking and for any kind of search. Google track you in each and every second. Even if I want to give an example, open Google, search something over there, and then jump to your Facebook. You will notice that whatever you have searched in the Google, whatever product you have searched in the Google, that is already mentioned in the Facebook. So how Facebook came to know that you have searched for that one, right? So all the browsers sit and track your cookies, track your record, and it sell that data to the other companies. Now, if being an IT person, I never ever use Google Chrome, Firefox, or any other browser. I use a browser called Puffin browser. It's a paid browser, and I don't use Google. I use DuckDuckGo because this search engine will not share your data with any person. Now, how I have learned this one? Because I have paid to somebody who have helped me to get more security in this new era. So if you're planning to come in this industry, I think you should. It's a very fantastic industry. You should learn from the right source. What is digital security, to how it's work, how a company think in this particular area, and how a personal individual think in this digital security. Each and every company, starting from the Capgemini, Microsoft, Google, Facebook, each and every company hired the cyber security specialist. So I would say welcome.
I think HR people are not very sensitized to cybersecurity. Can you? I think I'll be your first student, Subendu.
Oh, sir, that is my honor. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I never trust any phone which is built in China because I'm sorry for that. because there is a huge chance that our data could leak from the device itself. So so as I work for the US government, we are not allowed to use any phone apart from the Apple, because their security is, a bit better than Android. So that is the first step. I mean, I know, you know, we can think in a multiple ways. So if you want to planning for the security, the first thing, change your browser. Do not use Google Chrome, do not use the Firefox, plan for a paid browser, and do not use the Google, use DuckDuckGo. That will provide you the first level of security. Use the Puffin browser, that will provide you, extra layer of security. So Puffin browser, don't work in your normal computer. It's a cloud-based solution. We call it as a browser isolation. So if you're planning for your personal security, first install the Puffin browser. Stop using Google, using the DuckDuckGo. Use a nice security software in your computer, and try to avoid any phone which is completely built in China, like MI, Vivo, OnePlus, this type of phone. I don't have any personal problem with anybody, so any company, because I also work with them. But from the digital security perspective, yes, I would prefer Apple top of anything.
So, Mr. Azakatu, would you like to add your views?
So, yeah, surely I do agree with Mr. Subhendu Bhattacharya as he shared. It's so very true. We have experienced it so often, especially when we personally go through these browsers and all. In fact, Mr. Sudipto Sil, when he contacted me for this particular webinar, now I, not being a person who has actually worked with data science and all, I was going through some details just to keep myself aware of it so that I could help the students a bit about it. And from there, when I come to maybe YouTube and spend some time there, every ad that I am seeing there is about data science. So in a way, what I searched on Google is already there on YouTube or elsewhere. So these are so linked, and especially most of these very popular brands that people generally use just because they are free, people don't realize how much they are actually giving out to them. So all kind of information is out there in the open. We just keep on hearing in between some news that so much data has been exposed and all, but I believe virtually much more is already exposed, and we don't really, the common man usually doesn't think much about it. But people who are really keen in the cybersecurity area, those who wish to make a career in that, as Mr. Subhendu Bhattacharya has shared, they really have to take steps in order to keep themselves secure. I too now, I am attending this webinar through a Mac system. So I've seen that even for certain things, unless I permit it, it will not really give out that access. It's really much more secure. So we see that the need of that is very much there. Yeah, unless you are someone who has not at all to worry about anything, let's say, or you lose out on anything, you are not worried about it. For such people, it is okay. But then when we work, so much of our data, our professional details, as well as our personal details, almost everything is there on the systems that we use. So unless we take care on keeping these things secure, it's not really a good practice to follow. So I think those who wish to make a career in cybersecurity and all, I think there is a lot of scope, and they surely can go ahead with their plans in these areas. That is really.
Thanks, Mr. Azakatu. And you also mentioned that you being in quality. So cybersecurity is also having some amount of regulatory need, compliance needs. So would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yes, certainly. Now our company is also information security certified, that is ISO 27001. So in order to be certified for that, every company has to meet certain minimal benchmark requirements. Of course, us being a smaller company, we need not go in for too much of those realms. But I believe my colleagues, some of them who are from bigger companies, they'll have much more secure setups available. But for us in our company, every information that we share or that is sent out of the company or even shared amongst the peers, it has to go through a firewall. It is controlled specifically that way. Other than that, of course, each system follows encryption methodologies. Plus, we have secure protocols in place for data transmission and all. Unauthorized access is not there. In a way, there are three aspects which are more highlighted in the information security domain. One is confidentiality, then you have integrity, and you have CIA, that is awareness, I believe. So there are
Availability. Yeah, it's available. A is available.
accessibility, sorry, yeah, accessibility. So these three areas we really need to take care of those three areas in a software company also. Plus, each individual has a personal passwords and all. Am I audible enough?
Yes, yes, overall.
Because in between I saw the message internet link is unstable, so I was just cross checking. So you have these aspects that you have to take care of. Plus, there are a lot of physical and logical checks in place throughout this system also. We also have log checking in place, like whatever information is shared, logs are maintained for that. So if at all anything goes wrong, you can cross check on those things. So quality wise, of course, the company has to go through all these realms and ensure that whatever possible they can try and do to minimize the threat level to any organization. Also, it involves with a lot of risk management activities. How do you perceive risks in your organizations, and what all steps do you take to minimize those threats? Um, these are some of the steps that we take, and nowadays we have a lot of automation coming in, a lot of tools already available which can just be used so that organizations can go in and function in a much more secure way. Of course, a lot of innovation is going on, and I'm sure our colleague he would be able to shed much more light into that because he's working in such a domain. Uh, from the HR perspective, yes, we as well as from the quality perspective that I'm working in, we get to use much of these. We can see that happening around more use of CCTVs and restriction of physical access and all in the office environment. Now, for those who work from home and all, again, there are tools available to monitor the use of the systems. Whatever data is shared, like for those who work from home also, they mostly work through remote access tools so that whatever data they work on is actually centrally located either on the office server or if they are using a cloud-based server, wherever it is, in a secure environment so that nothing really leaks out or nothing is really lost. So these are some of the steps that companies would really want to take.
So I think GDPR is setting in India now. So GDPR talks a lot about these.
Right. Data protection and all is coming up. That's true. So true.
Yeah.
So about the tools and techniques, tools, are always very important when it comes to IT, and often it is perceived that tools are all important. Tools are not the only important things. The other things like IQ and EQ are important. But having said that, tools continue to remain important So, Mr. Mahapatra, can you just give us your view on what are the important tools, the IT or IT platforms, I shouldn't say tools, the IT platforms uh, that has a good market today?
So I may not be the expert here on this one, but so I think from the HR perspective, so we have certain tools that we use, in the HR space, right? We have certain. So are you talking about application tools or?
No. I'm not talking about the tools. Let me see. When you recruit for IT,
Mhm.
what are the technology areas, the technology platforms that you recruit for that are hot in the IT recruitment area?
Okay, yeah. So I think so. The business that I manage is mostly into the digital space, right? So we have digital. We call it as DOP. This is a digital platform, and everything. So it's all about cloud, right? Your IoTs and your analytics. Your data science, machine learning. Everything is a part of this space. Then we also talk about the managed services business, which is core IT services. Where we talk about project management and managed services, which is just support L1, L2, and L3 support for the clients. So the kind of technologies that we work. So when we look at from the skill perspective, we look at people with Power BI, right, and that supports analytics. We also look at, especially we are into the business intelligence space, BI, all the sub technologies of BI, and we look at C, Python, and Java, and also I think few of our projects have mean stack. So
Mhm.
that's something that we look at.
So, do you see a shift in the skill set need in the IT industry, say over the last 5 years?
I think, as I mentioned some time back, Dr. Suparna, that I think the change wave has been. I think the change wave has been very, very consistently short. So, which means that there were technologies at one point which are still used in certain projects, but then we have moved on. Example, if you look at traditional ERP model, right? If you talk about HCM system that was a part of the ERP space, those were designed some point, at some point, maybe 3-4 years back, and any company who used to have the SCM system under the ERP space and they used to go sell, mostly they used to sell the enterprise model, which was the in-house model. But today you have all the clouds of the world. So the ERP is on cloud, so where you have different companies and they are like on the virtual tenancy model, you know and I'm sure you have the virtual tenancy space where I have taken an HCM system, and so as, let's say, any other organization like Infosys and Wipros of the world. But then our needs are different. So within the virtual tenancy space, we are able to tailor make and customize the way I would need it. So that is the change. Initially, I think if you look at 5 years back, this wasn't there. They used to have a blanket enterprise model, and then of course everything else was customization from there. But I think with the cloud, I think there's a lot of upgrades happening already, and the end users can benefit from the updates and the upgrades, that comes on cloud. Apart from that, whatever you want to tailor make and customize is something that goes into the customization space. So I think definitely technology is changing. Now if I have to talk about computing and analytics, I think um, that's really, that's the new gen. So fast growing IoT networks. So if I have to look at Gartner report, it says that the Internet of Things will be the trend, way forward. So which will generate more than 300 billion annually by 2020. I'm sure this will be little parked now in terms of the revenue numbers, but also I think this will be the latest industry trends in terms of the research report, whatever it says, and it'll give us a CAGR of 28.5%. So which means that these are new gen technologies coming in, the machine learning, data science, and analytics. You see so many consulting companies getting into these space, leveraging the new technology, like your predictive analytics, your the data office, what we call as CDOs, and then quantum computing, etc. So I think so the companies are getting into these space now. So which means that 3 years back, 4 years back, we never heard of these much. Probably they were there at a stage of conceptualization in terms of how it would look, but not really in terms of uh, rate cards and revenues. That is already into the project today. So I think it has changed, and constant upskilling is what we call. I think if our engineers don't upskill themselves constantly, I think I mean, this is just in order to manage the redundancies. So I think always pulling up the socks and make sure that they're constantly retooling themselves and upskilling themselves. So because this is in this space, it will still go way forward. In terms of more and more technologies coming in.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the new normal, upskilling or the reskilling that's becoming very important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you brought about a good point on the cloud computing. So, Mr. Bhattacharya, this is your area. So, how do you see cloud computing gaining mileage in the new normal?
Okay, so again, a very personal and emotional question for me. So I can, I can see my career growth very easily. Okay, so in 2012, I believe. So when I was a part of Capgemini, at that point of time, cloud computing was a word for me. Within time, when I have joined Microsoft EPS, then when I joined Quening, I have started learning the Azure, which is the Microsoft cloud product. Within time, I have realized the power of cloud. Okay, so most of the industry, if you take a name of any company, each and every company is moving toward the cloud. Okay, as they're moving toward the cloud, we will have a job sink in the traditional data center, but there will be more job in the cloud segment. So cloud will be the new world. In a near future, we will see that most of the company will be in cloud, and they're looking for an engineer who know how to work with the cloud. So cloud is not a tool-based work, it's a concept. You have to develop the concept, and every company is okay with one concept. I mean, if you know Azure, you can learn the AWS or the Google Cloud very easily. Okay, I was an Azure expert from last couple of years. Then when the opportunity come, I became a Google certified cloud instructor within a 2 to 3 months. Okay, that it took a long time to learn the Google Cloud or the AWS, because the concept is very similar. It's a very it's very clear. I mean, to be very honest. And in the industry, I mean, in 2020, if you jump to any job portal and if you search for any job, you will find the Google Cloud, Azure, or AWS, these three terms specifically in the job description. So it mean that you should have all the traditional learning, but you should have also the cloud knowledge to sustain in this market. So there is a very simple strategy of mine. If I can't be the best, I'll be the first. It's very simple. It takes a lot of hard work to be the best in the market, but it takes very less effort to be the first in the market. If you become the first in the market, they want everyone behind you. If you want to be the best, then you have to beat each and every person in the market, and then you have to be in the first level. So I believe the second strategy is good for me. So I have learned the cloud technology when it was very new in the market, and now I know that I have the basic clear knowledge so that I can beat the market very easily.
So, knowledge of cloud, I was saying, knowledge of cloud is very important for almost every IT professional, or maybe not even IT, every professional to have in the new normal.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely.
Okay. So, how do you see the career path of a professional who is focused on, say, either data science or on cloud or on cybersecurity. So if just focusing on one of these knowledge areas, how do you see the career path shaping up?
Okay. So when someone is looking for a job, there are two basic segmentation. The first segmentation is, are you a developer? And the second segmentation, it's basically in the technical world, are you a developer or are you an infrastructure guy? Okay. If you're a developer, I think you should learn first the what is C, C++, Java. But most of the industry or most of the tool out there, they're using Python to build any kind of tool in this new world. So if you know the Python very well, I think that will be very easy for you to get inside the artificial intelligence, machine learning, as well as the cloud computing. If you're planning to come in this infrastructure world, then first you have to understand what is a computer. Okay, what is a hard drive, how does it work, how operating system talk with the hardware. Then in the next level, what is a hyper-V, what is a virtual machine. Once you have all this knowledge, then you have to understand how does the storage work in the production environment, what is a production environment means, how the ticketing tools work. Okay, then you can learn about the cloud technology. But there is one thing, there is one very valuable point which we missed most of the time, that is a deep work capabilities. I can remember my college days, I was a very bad student, my marks was very bad, but within time I have realized that if we have multiple question, there is one place where we can get all the answers, that is a book. If we get the right book in the right time, we can solve all the problem. So if you want to be someone in your company, if you want to be the best in your company, increase your deep work capabilities. There is a book in the market called the Deep Work. I have that book and I have started that book and I have completed a few days back. So deep work means one capabilities which is completely to you and that is very hard to replicate. Let's take an example. I know that how to design an infrastructure with the help of Azure. I have worked for multiple hours. I have worked in the deep hours and I have developed the skill. Now, if someone want to replicate the same skill of mine, that person need a long time to replicate. I know a person, he is my core mentor. His name is James Stephenson. He is a very eager to learn this cybersecurity. So he done a lot of research in this particular segment. So if I want to replicate his knowledge, I think I have to spend a long hours. So if you are planning to get a job in any industry, first learn the topic. Learn the topic in a way so that you have all the answers. You can teach that subject to anybody.
So Subhendu, sorry to interject.
Mhm.
So Dr. Suparna, just a little bit, to add to what Subhendu said, just mentioned. So I think your question was more on the career path, and from the HR perspective, maybe I can add to this. And he also mentioned about Python. So yeah, I think there are three technologies that we can talk about: Python, R, and SQL.
Absolutely.
Mostly into the AI space. And also, I think if you look at broadly, within any organization, we talk about a job tree, then a job family and job roles, right? So today I think we are able to compartmentalize the career path in three different, areas. So one, when you start as an engineer, at a certain point, probably either you can go into the knowledge management, which is technical, purely technical, that where we can keep all the data science or any other technology, etc. And then you grow in that ladder, or you go into the project management, that's completely, when you do your PMPs of the world and you manage projects, and then programs. Or people management, right? So today, if you look at, we are getting into with the with the COVID situation. I think we are getting into something called a geek economy. and which means essentially very lean economy, right? So if the economy is lean, I mean, getting to the revenue is lean in the process behind. I think we're talking about a lean structure itself. Any organization would look at. So I think ideally, if you look at India as a setup, we have been traditionally hierarchical. I think we enjoy hierarchies. Right from your AVPs and then the VPs and the senior VPs, right? Too much concentration on the titles, but I think we're going lean, and it will be more horizontal. If I say, rather than growing up on the side of the titles, or the roles, the kind of roles that you're taking, if you park the titles out, people can really move into different areas. When I say that, there are different segments and what do you call areas where one can get into in terms of the computing space, right? Um so just to name a few, one can probably focus, like we have in our organization, when we talk about career path for a data analyst or a data scientist. So we talk about they can venture into the financial side of it, or the market research side of it, the sales analysis or the web analysis or BI, big data, machine learning. So I think these are, so I see growth being more horizontal than vertical in terms of the title. And I think you have a much broader landscape to venture into what you want to get into. And it will be more role specific as to what you're managing, but not titles really. Because anyways, for a technical guy, it's very lean. I'm sure Subhendu will second me there.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. So talking about the career and finding one solution over a call, it's very tough. I mean, because when I used to deliver the training with Microsoft in the specifically in the Indian SMB, um, I used to face the same question a lot, right? That how we should design our career. So my first question is why and how, right? So what do you want to achieve in your career? Okay. So every person has that different opinion, their different skill set, their different understanding, capability. So based on that and based on the interest specifically, I think they should design their own path. I love to work with the cloud computing. Recently, we are developing one design, one architecture for the US Department of Defense. Yesterday, I have completed one part of that, and tomorrow, today I will start again with from the same place. So when I work in this kind of project, I never look for the time. I never look for, I mean, how many hours I've worked, because I love to work in that technology. But it was not the same in each and every companies. So love to work and love to technology, or love to what you do. I think that's a very important thing for each and every student.
That's a very, very important discussion. Now, the career trees are actually flattening, like Mr. Mahapatra said, and it's more about deeper knowledge than just rising, climbing up the ladder, as we call it.
That's right.
So that's very important, and every professional, every student, they should keep in mind that the knowledge and the expertise that they gain on their topic can be a topic of their choice, but that's very important.
Yeah. Exactly. So that is what we run a boot camp, especially to make sure that there is a effective college to career transition. So it's essentially more around the behavioral part of it, because mostly whatever we have learned in our past years, it's very difficult to unlearn them. And then the college ecosystem is very different than a corporate ecosystem. So I think in my organization we have a 6 weeks boot camp. And so when I say I work with the next company called Infosys, it certainly does matter if they come from NSHM, but at the end of the day, we want them to be Infosys graduates also. So they go through that boot camp and make sure that you really learn, how and what of the business, and especially not really why, because I think why is something that should have come long back, is what we presume. So how and what when you're in the business. So certainly, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I have a couple of questions coming in from the audience. So we'll quickly look at those questions. The first question we have is, about the cybersecurity profession. So, should a student who's interested uh, do a certificate course on cybersecurity to get a good job?
So if I can take that question at a
Sure, sure.
50,000 feet, I'm not a technical guy, but I think, yeah, I think one definitely should. I think we just discussed about, the scope of cybersecurity, and I think with every passing day, the system is becoming more vulnerable. So inside the organization, we do a lot of orientation on how important is cybersecurity, and I'm talking about at an employee level. And then we have the policies designed and conceptualized in such a way that people are sensitized to what is called cybersecurity, and then people don't try their hands on that. So we have something called your IPRs, your intellectual property rights and the violations, etc. All of that is a part of the policies. But I think cybersecurity is very important. So you have your ITIL and those certifications, right? In the cybersecurity space. So I think there's a lot of scope, and this is one of the most emerging, I can say, if people have any plans to get into cybersecurity. Because if I have to look at the database of cybersecurity professionals in India, I think the pie for each organization is so less. I think the demand curve is much more than the supply. So I think that's for sure.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Mahapatra. There's another question that's coming up that is, could you explain cloud computing a little more?
Okay, so all the question is very close to my heart. Okay, it's a very big topic. Microsoft defined a 40 hours training to learn the cloud computing. So I believe you can understand it's not one day or a couple of hours topic. But in a short way, I can tell you that whatever we develop in our on-prem data center, when we host the same application or the same virtual machine in Microsoft or in Amazon data center, and we use that facility over the internet, we consider as a cloud computing. As an example, we use the Gmail or the Hotmail. So in cloud computing term, that is a software as a service. We use the Google storage, that is a storage as a service. So instead of using those services from Google or from these companies, if we use from Microsoft over a single portal, that will consider as a cloud. So we can build our virtual machine in our normal computer, but if we shut down the computer, we will lose the VM. So instead of developing or creating that virtual machine in our on-prem, in our local computer, if you create the same VM in the Microsoft data center, that will be the infrastructure as a service. So these are the three terms that we use in our cloud computing. So first learn, if you want to learn the cloud computing, first learn what is a virtual machine. Then, try to learn that what is a cloud computing. I have posted my blog in the chat window. So if you want, you can jump to my blog and you can learn from there. It's free.
Thank you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Yeah, it's a huge topic and there are various aspects to it. You explained very well in the gist of it.
Thank you.
So we'll come to Mr. Azukatu. Mr. Azukatu, how do you see, what do you see are the current trends in the application development market?
Okay, yeah, even in this sphere now, primarily we are a company that is mostly involved with the BFSI sector, that is banking, finances, and securities, that is a trading market and all. So, as I mentioned earlier also, in these areas, what we have seen, work has really been going on well. And as my colleague, Mr. Samresh Mahapatra had earlier mentioned, it's a mixed blend of tools. Like the traditional ones, there are still some financial organizations, especially that stick on to it, and few that will keep on upgrading, which move into the latest technologies and based on that, we have requirements coming up. Recently, we have had Python also as one of the tools that is being used all the more, with more of Android development coming in, where again we use Python mostly. And there is also an increase in the demand for big data tools and AI and machine learning concepts also. We have our own in-house product development also, where to some extent there are some small modules being developed which have to do with the robotics domain also. So I think these are areas, plus some sensor-based technologies. All these, I believe, in the coming years, we'll see an increase in the demand for those kind of application development.
Great. So, do you see any shift towards use of products rather than building customized own solutions? So earlier, say 20 years back, organizations would try to make their own custom build their solutions, right? But nowadays, do you see there is a shift towards products, or I mean, from the market Indian market perspective, are organizations shifting to product marketing, or are they still focusing on services?
I believe services is very much in demand still. Of course, my colleagues say you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not too much into those areas, as I would be more of into a jack of all trades kind of a concept. I've been a little into HR, a little into the back office, and a little into the quality aspect. So from what I have seen with my dealings with our HR team, plus our production team in development too. So from the product point of view, what I have seen is, if you are able to provide a solution to something which you are really working on, which can be at least adapted completely as a solution for some for a larger market, I think people will surely would love to use that product. Otherwise, I think custom based is, of course, what would continue to be there in the market. When we look at product wise, I feel in the present domain, like especially if we take an example of this COVID situation, though we see a lot of Chinese things coming up, a lot of blame on them too, and it is true, not wrong. But if we see the way, I happen to see this in a video, so I don't know much how far it is true or not. The way they handled this pandemic probably had been much better than some of the other countries. There could be various reasons for that, even diplomatic, we don't know. They have not really shared out a lot of details on that. But I believe they had some products with them which was easily available, which they could use and control the pandemic in a better way. We too have been doing our bit, like in this pandemic situation. But I think the way these can be integrated with some other tools and the way it can be used, I don't know how far it has been of benefit to us. Only in the long run we may probably know. But I think, yeah, both these will continue to be moving ahead in the coming years too. In our office too, though we are a smaller setup, we have both these activities going on. Though what we have seen is the demand for service-based applications has been on the greater side. Product-wise, it is still, I think product-wise, it is much more hard work also in a limited time, because again, if there's too much of delay, by the time we are ready with something, probably someone else would already have had something very similar in the market.
So I think just to add to what Jacob said, if I look at a corporate platform today, from the products, right, from the commercially viability perspective, of a product. If I'm an end user and if I'm X organization, right, I need a product which is an enterprise solution, in-house. I think today there is a makeshift because I think everybody is looking at building in their own product. I think because every idea is like a top-down idea that comes from right from the level of CEO to that gets filtered through many other layers and comes down. If I have to talk about a one-stop solution, within an organization, so just to very, very, I think structurally putting it across to you in this forum, when we hire an engineer, any organization, especially IT services, would look at the utilization, right? How and where is an engineer utilized to what extent? So generally, the industry practice for an IT services company is about 85% utilization, right? Now, the 15% is parked for various reasons. Certainly, it is not 85% all the time, but so there are two ways a resource is utilized. One is the raw billability, how much are you billing that resource to the client? Is it 60% or 70%? And what revenue are you billing from that particular resource or employee? The next one is invested hours. So when we say invested hours, those are like 15 to 20%. So one would actually be maybe somebody's rolled back from the project, and as a stopgap, one is spending 4 to 5 months time in and more into the invested hours, which is for the organization, and they do nothing but try and build a one-stop solution or a product for the company. So that is how slowly and of course those are for the internal needs, not for the market. But I think, once the organizations start realizing that they have product capability as well, sooner or later they diversify to the product space as well. Maybe build something like a chatbot and, into the chatbot technology, and then go shelve that into the market, and earn revenue out of that as well. So I think that's how people diversify. But I think mostly if you look at from the end user mentality today, they would like to kind of build in-house solutions for large IT services setups.
True.
Yeah, sorry, please go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, as for the larger sector, surely that is one of the best ways. But for smaller setups like ours, sometimes ready-made solutions, if they are there, which we can really use, we may probably go for that.
Absolutely.
As Mr. Samresha has rightly shared, it is true. The time that a particular team can devote to the development of that also is so very crucial.
No, because I think an IT services company would have somewhere between 15 to 25% bench. So this is also one way we engage our bench. We don't say that you're literally on bench. So you keep retooling, keep reskilling, and then also at the same time come out with something which is a value proposition to the organization, right? So
right.
Makes sense.
So we have one question. Let's come to the question. It is about cloud security. So I think that is where we are. It's a culmination point. So participants are thinking. That's great. So can anybody talk a little bit about cloud security?
I think Subhendu would be the right person for that.
Yeah, Mr. Bhattacharya.
Okay. So today everyone is asking, question which is close to my heart. Cloud security is the next big thing. So when everyone will be in the cloud, so there will be a strong point where we need the right person who can provide the right security. So in our own organization, we have multiple security experts who guide us that how we can build a strong environment. So that no unauthorized resource can reach to our environment. So when we talk about the cloud security, at first you have to learn the cloud. Then you have to be an expert in the cloud security. And there is a true story in the industry that industry love the knowledge. If you have the right knowledge, each and every company will will be agree to hire you. So we have expertise HR. Sir, you can tell me that. I mean, you can tell us that if you have the knowledge, there is no point that company will not hire you. So the second topic would be that how from where we should start. So in the market, each and every company like the certified ethical hacker, starting from the Microsoft certification, Google certification, each and every company provide their own certification to get certified in their own product. Like in Azure, we have AZ 900, which is a fundamental course, then AZ 104, 109. So we have multiple courses. If you want to be an expert, go to the company website, search for the certification, get the training, clear the certification, get the certificate, you're okay.
So I think that there's a related question. Student is asking, I have just completed a master degree in cybersecurity. Can I get a job in cybersecurity if I have no experience?
Okay, so there always a place where a fresher can get a job. Okay, I mean, each and every person in this call, someone is a senior vice president, to a cloud expert, to an highly qualified trainer. Everyone was a fresher in one day. Okay, so if I got the job, there is no point will not get a job, right? So don't worry. Search for the right thing. You will get the right thing the right time. Don't worry.
So just a little bit answering this question, putting the HR hat on.
Yes,
I
please.
think, yeah. So I think the answer is yes, because I mean, this is also one of the job roles that any organization would have, right? Mostly today. So, and I'm sure you start your journey from somewhere. So you can definitely start and get into an organization.
Okay.
Yeah, because we do hire. So I'm sure everyone are hiring this role. So.
Yeah, I second Mr. Samresh Mahapatra. We too do hire freshers. Only thing is, when you start your career, I think we should be willing to be those who are willing to learn more and not really be focused too much on the monetary aspect, at least for the initial couple of years. That's the time when you invest more in your learning. That's what I believe. Unless you're really exceptional, where you can really be demanding, I believe.
Yeah, so I think compensation is the byproduct, right? So I think that automatically follows after a certain period of time, and once you're able to really understand where you want to head and how the organization handholds you in terms of building your capabilities, I think money is always the byproduct. So that will follow you.
True.
Yes, I mean, I absolutely love this point. If you're looking for the salary before expertise, you will never reach to the highest position. If you have the right knowledge, right salary will search you. Don't worry about that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
See, money is not the
Very,
goal.
very, very good. Yeah, very, very good point. Very good point. So another question coming up is what job opportunities are coming up in artificial intelligence area? I know it's a very broad question, but
Also for me,
that is what the student wants to know from the panelists. What are the job opportunities in artificial intelligence area?
is it from me?
Anybody, it's open. Anybody can take this. It's open to all panelists.
Then I will wait for the senior people to answer.
So I can take that first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think AI is certainly something that. So I think, okay, let me go back and tell you where it all started. So I think maybe about I was in one of the roundtables, maybe about a year and a half or two back, and then I was addressing in one of the pre-placement talk where people asked this question to me: is AI going to take jobs, from India, right? So automation or artificial intelligence, right? So certainly not. I think so. There are different. So if I have to look at how the AI ecosystem is currently, I think the technology makes shift, right? I think if you look at how do we really move, so AI has a good pie of growth, even now and in the coming days. So there is a lot of artificial intelligence scope in many areas of the project implementation or tools, etc. Wherever, whatever we're looking at, so that is there. So I think AI is there and AI will be there. I don't think that there is any redundancy or AI will work in the short change wave process. I don't think that will happen in AI.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mahapatra. So I think we had a very good discussion today. I would like to thank all the panelists for your wonderful inputs. It was very nice talking to you.
It is a
And I
pleasure.
think our students and all the participants, they enjoyed the discussions today and they got some insights, which are actually from the ground. From all the panelists are from the industry. So it's really from the ground that they're getting these inputs. So I think with this a vote of thanks, we'll end the session here. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. Suparnadhar, and we look forward to more such roundtables within SHM in the future, and we'll be
Yeah,
happy
that
to
will be a great,
value add.
absolutely.
And
Love to have you.
great meeting you,
Was
Subhendu, here
value
on Meetup.
addition.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yes, it was
So,
fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
same here. Thank you so much. So we could not see you, but we really thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks to all the students as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Personally, I love the conversation today. Prajna, would you like to add anything?
No, ma'am, we are absolutely good to go in terms of concluding the session. So I would like to leave it upon you to conclude the session from your end. It was a very engaging and insightful discussion that happened. So over to you.
Okay, great. So thank you all. Thanks all the participants. Thanks all the panelists. It was wonderful. I'm sure that students enjoy, and I personally, I love the conversation today. It was great having you all. Thank you for joining, and we look forward to have you again with us in different forums, in such panels or in other discussions.
My
Yes,
pleasure, and I
thank you.
wish students all the best. Thank you so much.
Yeah, all the best from us too. Yeah.
Yes, guys, best of luck for your future. We'll meet soon. Till the time, take care. Bye-bye. Live life king size. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.